Hello and welcome back to the Retail Journey Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Charles Greathouse.
And I'm James Harris, and today we're going to be talking with Jen Enssle. Jen serves as the Director of Supply Chain Emergency Operations Center at Walmart, and we'll not only get into that fascinating and really important function, but we'll also be able to get into some of her background in both replenishment and logistics at Walmart.
Hello.
Welcome to the Retail Journey.
Thank you.
That is the Retail Journey, sometimes it presents itself like a linear journey, and it never is linear. As a Director of Supply Chain Emergency Operations, I'd say you're familiar with the non-linear nature of retail.
Yes.
Is that your felt experience, non-linear?
Yes, I would call it chaotic.
Yeah, there was the plan and the thing that happened, and then we have lots of ways to resolve it. But we can rewind a little bit back. What does a Director of Supply Chain Emergency Operations do?
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself, Jen.
So we typically react to emergencies, as you would imagine. Day to day, we prepare for planned events.
Yeah.
So currently, our main focus is on hurricane season.
Yep.
We're expecting a very active hurricane season this year. It'll most likely be the most active season for the last 20 years.
Wow.
Not saying it'll be devastating, but the activity definitely will be there.
Is that the assumption going into every year, or is that actually the expectation?
No, that is the expectation.
Huh.
So there are several universities and several forecasting agencies that do annual forecasting.
Yeah.
So they look at several different water temperatures, just a bunch of different statistics and analytics to see what the season holds.
If I'm not mistaken, I saw a forecast of maybe 30 in the Caribbean alone.
Yeah, we're looking at about 20.
Okay.
Which is significantly higher than a typical hurricane season. Will it all come to fruition? Likely not.
Right.
Will they all make landfall? No. But the potential is certainly there.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now we're in the planning stages, which means planning with all of the buildings out in the field. So making sure they have contingency plans in place, making sure everybody is aware of how to prepare, making sure all of the associates know what to do in the event a hurricane makes landfalls, making sure all of our store operators are prepared to take action should something happen. So those are the things that we do day to day.
Wow. Yeah. Fascinating.
We prepare all sorts of playbooks for other events. And then anytime an emergency does happen, we learn from it. And then we create new playbooks.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's a store fire or a gas leak or, some other event, we learn from it and we create plans should something like that happen again.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just go to step one as soon as the thing happens.
Absolutely.
Step one, step two. So you came from logistics and replenishment in your background. What was it that attracted you to the emergency operations?
I've always had an interest in the EOC itself. Throughout my replenishment career, I volunteered for the EOC several times. So during Harvey and Irma, I volunteered in the EOC and I managed all of the ice. So all of the creation of POs for ice and all of the dispatching of ice, which was quite traumatizing, really, because there was so much ice that we needed during those storms. I think I worked 20 hours a day.
Yeah, sure.
20 hours a day just creating POs and dispatching ice loads. They called me the Ice Queen.
Ice Queen. Awesome.
I think we have our podcast title.
It was it was inspiring and rewarding, and I just always really had an interest in it. But I just really strive in just a higher energy and chaotic environment. Like when a problem is right in my face, that's when I go into overdrive.
Yeah.
And my leadership really recognized that. And when this position came open, that leadership reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in it. And I just jumped on the opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So problem solving is just always something that's been in my blood. But then I also have a background in process improvement. So taking all of these situations that we go through day to day and then sitting down afterwards and analyzing, what could we have done better? What can we do different next time? And just coming up with a better plan to prepare better next time. That's just something that comes naturally to me. So it was just a really good fit.
Does the preparation cycle look different depending on the event? So do you prepare in a similar way with, say, ice in the north as you would with hurricanes in the southeast?
In some ways, yes. So some situations are transferable, some are
yeah,
not. So
right.
there are always nuances, but in general, there are some situations that are transferable.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and then everyone will be unique as well.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like even, we have the plan, which is to run a store and operations network seamlessly. And then you have the disruption. It's like, okay, then we have a disruption. Well, it's not like a disruption. They're all different.
Yes.
Different roads are closed every time. The ways around, the needs are different. I couldn't imagine. We've had our own, small taste of disruption here
Right.
in Bentonville with this,
And Rogers.
very active storm, Bentonville,
Yes.
Rogers, with the tornadoes that came through. What's been your experience like it happening here on home turf?
It was a very unique experience being on the ground. So I had a unique look into what our disaster relief team does. So part of my role is leading our disaster relief team, which is a group of drivers that actually deploys to the disaster area and they cook for the community. So we have a mobile grill. And our team actually takes that grill and a bunch of supplies and they set up at one of our stores and cook for the community.
That's awesome.
And I actually deployed with that team because they were local this time.
Yeah.
And I helped them cook for the community here in Rogers. And we set up near a neighborhood market. And we cooked over 20,000 meals
Wow.
in
Oh my
5
goodness.
days. So we were just cranking out mashed potatoes and green beans and chicken wings and burgers. And it was a really unique experience because I was able to be there on site with the drivers and help them. And a lot of our drivers they're very efficient. They know what they're doing. But their role is to, crank out meals and feed the community as fast as they can. And as amazing as they are not focused on process improvement.
Yeah.
So I was able to take back my learnings and help them look forward.
Yeah.
And I'm able to now sit down and take my learnings and help them improve the
Oh, yeah,
program.
totally.
Right.
So that was really eye-opening for me and a little bit different
Yeah.
with the storm hitting us here at home.
Yeah, 20,000 meals. My goodness.
Yeah.
In 5
And
days.
the really neat thing was our leadership was able to visit us too.
Right.
So Doug, Kieran, Cedric, they all came out
Yeah.
and they helped us.
Yeah, there's
awesome.
nothing like serving and then actually serving
Yeah.
a meal. We get to share a meal. It's very humanizing. This has been a bit of a traumatic experience. Some, very traumatic for folks
Yes.
who have a lot of loss, and for some, it's just the trauma of having a very different drive down Central.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the beautiful trees we've looked at for decades are not where they used
Right.
to be.
So many trees.
Yeah.
All right. Can we spend a little bit of time? I can't remember if you were in replenishment first or logistics, but at one point you managed logistics in Region 3. What were
Yep.
you, what was your what was that experience like?
So I made the move from replenishment to transportation, and I led dispatching operations for Region 3. And my team dispatched all the drivers in Region 3. And one of the biggest learnings I had was how some of the decisions that we made in merchandising impacted our private fleet.
Yeah.
A lot of times we made some knee-jerk reactions to where, we wrote an SSO or we, cranked up safety stock or, made some pushes to, send a bunch of merchandise to store. And
Probably
we didn't
for
really,
good reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
Oh, yeah.
always.
Yeah.
But we didn't really think about the impact it would have, downstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I was on the transportation side and, on a Wednesday I would see, what the workload for Thursday or Friday looked like. And, we had, 1,600, 1,700 loads the next day. That's manageable. And then I'd come in on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning and all of a sudden, we'd have 2,000, 2,100 loads.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have enough drivers to deliver all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
where did all this incremental workload come from? And somewhere I knew our merchants sat around and just,
SSO.
created an
Ship it.
SSO, ship it.
As a former merchant, I agree with them. Yeah, ship it. I mean, come on.
Somebody somewhere will find a driver to deliver it.
So what do you do in a situation like that if you don't have the machines or the people to deliver? Do you move days? Do you bring people in?
I mean, in Region 3, you can't bring drivers in because, it's Idaho, it's Wyoming.
Right.
Yeah.
Your transit is
Long.
8-10 hours.
Yeah.
No, a lot of it just gets rolled over to the following days, and we miss the MABD.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So there's certainly some room for improvement, and
That would be like on the OTIF side of things where it's like, supplier responsibility, Walmart responsibility, probably show up on the Walmart side because it's like, that just didn't make it.
Yeah,
Right.
most of this would be store or DC to store.
Yeah.
But
still.
yeah, certainly some room for improvement there. Just, on the merchant side, being more aware of, what your, actions have impact on downstream.
And day of the week makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Just those kind of things that you have to know in
Yeah,
order to work
absolutely.
with it. But if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. In the future, I hope there's one day where, a transportation partner is part of a cross-functional team, with a merchant and with a merch ops partner. And,
Yeah.
we're all a little bit closer together.
Yeah.
We always talk about working in silos. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a big org.
Yes, it is.
It's funny when we were sort of prepping for this, I was like, I had my own sort of transportation learning as a planner when
Yeah.
I wrote an order for 2 weeks of supply, which felt like a reasonable amount, and it was like 15 trucks. And Jen immediately goes, El Paso. And it's like, yes,
Yeah.
it was El Paso. How'd you know the
And
store?
it was bag dog food.
Because
Yeah.
it was dog food, and there's a store in El Paso, Texas, that just
Yeah.
they sell so much, and there's a lot of cross-border purchase and whatnot, but just an enormous amount of volume. And there are few times, like there's a lot of merchants who aren't ever faced with making such an enormous mistake that I made, where it was like, no, actually, we can't fit that many trucks here, Charles. You can't write that order.
Yeah.
/ I wrote it. They were like, no, we're not going to. We can't do this. You need to cancel it and rewrite. Or in a position like transportation where you're seeing hey, you can't just have a few hundred more people driving today. We don't have a few hundred
Right.
more people to drive today. So for those that don't get to see it, you don't always see when your decision stacks up against a scale so significant.
Sure.
That would earn someone a nickname like Ice Queen because you're shipping so many truckloads of ice just constantly. Walmart scale definitely comes to mind. There's always the enormity of what Walmart's able to accomplish. But for those that don't get to see it, that haven't been in that perspective, what kind of advice or counsel would you give to your merchant friends who don't run into it day to day?
Oh gosh. I think just keep the time frame in consideration. Any kind of knee-jerk reaction, it could have a bad outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that reason why they don't like writing SSOs for tomorrow.
Yes.
You should probably.
Well, I learned
some time.
the same lesson the hard way when I was in replenishment. I was very young, very inexperienced, and I needed to write, it was about 30 truckloads worth of orders for this one supplier. So I wrote them. I was really proud of my SSOs.
Way to
and
go.
my flow that felt perfect until the guy called me and he said, I have 2 dock doors. And you just scheduled 30 trucks for this week. Like, oh, that might not work.
Did you want something else? You only wanted.
So we staged them a little bit.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, if you plan things well, you can make miracles happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
My merchant and I, we decided to do a modular reset, and we replaced just about 100% of SKUs.
Wow.
So, and this was paper towels. We deleted all but 2 SKUs and brought in a whole new assortment. Never been done in the entire history of Walmart.
I wouldn't think in any category.
Ever.
Yeah. Wow.
Our modular fill was 2,400 truckloads of paper towels.
It's pretty bulky, huh? That's going to cube out pretty quick.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I brought it in 4 days. 2,400 truckloads I brought into our DC network in 4 days.
That's amazing.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And I had calls with all of our DCs. I went into our EVP staff meeting and I laid out my plan. Like, this is what I plan to do. This is how many trucks by DC I plan to land by the hour. And this is how it'll happen. I need your support. And he said, it looks good. If you're comfortable, if you're confident, I'll sign off on it.
Yeah.
And I was sweating,
Yeah,
my heart was
totally.
beating, and I almost fainted, but I
Yeah.
said, I've got this.
Yeah.
And it worked
That's
beautifully.
impressive.
Yeah. Was that
Really
Huff?
impressive.
Oh, no, that was Tim Cooper
Oh, transportation
on the
side?
DC, on the supply chain
Oh,
side.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Awesome.
And the day the modular reset, we were at 100% in stock.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's impressive.
And we had 0 markdowns. We never took any markdowns whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
if you plan well,
Good
and you
example of the best
execute
laid
well.
plan executing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
You know, I'd hate to turn the page, but another one of your roles was in merch ops as replenishment manager.
Yes.
In the year 2020, a couple things happened. On
A lot of things happened.
on the bulk paper business.
Yes.
And I think myself and every other American noticed, like, hey, there seems to not be any toilet paper left.
I dropped the ball on that one. Sorry about that.
You want to share, from your experience, like, hey, guys, here's what happens when America starts to panic
lot
about
of things
something
happen.
that's just in time.
You know, the first couple of days were kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, when you come in, you're like, our category has an 80 comp.
Yeah. What's going on here?
What's going on?
What's this happening?
And then
80 comp.
Then you get on Facebook or Instagram and see all these
Start
pictures
seeing
of people with carts full of.
No, it was terrifying. It was great. I mean,
We know you like an emergency
challenge.
situation, so this was good.
you know, I think what it taught me is that you can do a lot of creative things under pressure.
Yeah.
And when somebody supports you, because my leadership, and they were all absolutely amazing through this. They told me, you have an open checkbook.
Yeah.
You have our support. We've got your back. You do whatever you have to do. Like,
Yeah.
handcuffs are off.
Figure
You
it
do
out.
what you got to do.
Godspeed.
We'll get you what you need. You
Yeah.
do whatever you need to do. Our suppliers were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I did things that have never been done. You know, when I first explored direct-to-store deliveries, I was told it couldn't be done. I was told, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but
Yeah.
I was told by
Yeah.
the water team, you can't do it. Like, there's so many issues with item files, with EDI transmission, with PO creation. It can't be done. So I just set up a war room. I talked to a bunch of people, and I was like, we have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Can't, if it all has to flow through the DCs, that's what it's going to.
But you know what I
Bulk
did?
paper.
I got it done.
Yeah, you did.
And we shipped it straight from the supplier to store. And I worked with all the big suppliers, and, you know, we worked through it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. You said something, which is, I put a war room together and I talked to a lot of people. I think that's an error that a lot of people make, both on the merchant side, if you're either new in merchandising or you've established patterns of not really bringing the team along, or on the supplier side where you have issues going on and you seem to undercommunicate. Can you give some advice to both of these groups about, like, okay, when you're in a situation, because in retail it's going to happen. It presents itself as linear. It's never actually linear. When you find yourself in that situation, how do you bring the team along, and what's the value in doing that?
I mean, you just add anybody and everybody to an email chain.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like on the item file side and the EDI side.
Yeah.
You know, I just started emailing people You look at distribution groups, like you just type EDI in Outlook and somebody's going to come up
Yeah.
and you just email them and say, hey, I have this issue with an EDI transmission. Who do I need to talk to? This is what I'm trying to accomplish and I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you track that person down and you find them on Zoom and,
Yeah.
you're like, I have this big problem. I'm dealing with toilet paper and somebody's got to help me figure this out. It's the pandemic and,
Yeah.
Doug's going to give me a phone call if I don't get this figured out. You just figure
Yeah.
something
Sounds
out.
like problem solving 101.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to have the end solved. You know where you're trying to go, and you don't know how to get there yet. And you openly communicate.
I also had an amazing cross-functional team.
Yeah.
My merchant and all the associate merchants, they did, there's not a whole lot they could do either.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Buyers got to buy, but
there's nothing
there's
to buy.
nothing to buy.
But what they did is they took a lot of pressure off of me so
Yeah.
I could do what I needed
Totally.
to do.
That's a
So
gift.
they were like, what can I do to take off of you so you can chase down those things?
Yeah.
So they did a lot of, random replenishment stuff
Yeah.
that they knew how to do so I could go chase down stuff.
Yeah.
So I had an incredible team. Like I said, all of the suppliers, they knew Walmart had to win,
Yeah.
and that's really what mattered.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. As someone who grew up, in consumables, I, have a bias to agree. Like, yeah, the consumables team, I mean, come on.
Yes.
What was the recovery time in that? Was it a matter of weeks, months?
Years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to define what the end was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's such a tight, we talk about well-laid plans and strategy. The well-laid plan and strategy prior to those 80 comps was basically just in time, very
Yep.
efficient,
Day or two of supply.
distributed manufacturing, and as little time on a truck as possible,
Yep.
which makes so much sense. Like,
'Cause it's big.
people aren't going to suddenly be like, hey, I'm going to use twice as much toilet paper this week. Until they might not have toilet paper the next week, and then I'm buying
Yep.
as much as I possibly can, turns
Yep.
out.
Most of our DCs had less than 2 days of supply.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because why would they? Because that's a huge footprint.
Yeah. And we had just gone through, a lot of our initiatives to stop doing coupons, stop doing free rolls. So all of this, back and forth and this volatility in sales had really gone away. So our sales were as stable as they could be. Our inventory was the most stable it had been in centuries.
Yeah. Store specific mods.
Yeah.
Remember that, with just like keeping it really lean.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, there's some
Until.
there's some products and categories that the more the shopper purchases, the more they consume.
Yeah. Expandable consumption.
Toilet paper is not
No.
really one of them.
If you're stretching out the squares, then like, come on, man. Go get you a big 24 pack or whatever.
Yeah.
Get a value pack in your household.
So one of the reasons I was excited to talk to you today, besides everything we have talked about, is that you're the first replenishment person that had been a replenishment manager that we've been able to talk to. And we always like to try to leave, our listeners or people that watch the videos with some tangible kind of takeaways. So from a now it's a merch ops, but formerly replenishment manager role, say you were talking to a new supplier. What would be the 2, 3, 4 things you would tell them? Focus on this. Engage when you're engaging with your merch ops manager, and this will lead to success.
That's a really difficult question because there's so many different replenishment managers and merch ops managers out there.
Right.
And personalities are so different. Relationship building is really important, and figuring out how they operate is so critical.
Yeah.
One of the things I always tell suppliers, especially when they have challenges, is use the resources in the supplier community first, because it is such a supportive community.
It really.
There are so many resources out there, and I always feel so grateful for how they help one another and support one another. So if you don't get enough support within Walmart, reach there.
Yeah.
But that wasn't your question, so sorry about that.
No, that's
But-
great.
No, it's great.
But build a relationship and find out how your replenishment manager wants information from you.
Yeah.
I think that's critical. I've had some suppliers reach out to me or email me with like one-liner, and it'll be, "Hey Jen, my in-stock is 96%. Can you look at it?"
So this is thumbs up or thumbs down?
That's not very actionable.
not
And
helpful. So what?
Unfortunately, that goes to the bottom of my email.
Yeah.
I hate to say
Or
it.
you just archive it?
Yeah. No, I don't
Okay.
go that low.
Okay, so if you do that to a merchant, they're just going to delete it. Just as a merchant,
No,
I'm not responding to that.
But I will probably wait till later to readdress that.
Yeah.
What would a good one sound like?
A good one is, here are the items that have opportunities. Here is a template
Yeah.
to upload to address the issues. Here's the financial summary of what this template
Yeah.
will do to your category.
And here's the
or
5
two.
metrics you always ask me for when I
Yes,
bring something
exactly.
up.
On time
And that
and
I'm
full.
answering them for you
Yeah.
so that you can then take the action that you're
And then also come with the opposite. Like, taking this action will increase your inventory, but
Yes.
here are 5 items that are over inventory.
Yeah,
So
nice.
if you upload this template, it'll also decrease your inventory by this much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just come with a solution, make it
Nice.
easy, make it efficient. Just bring the whole package and
Yeah.
tell us the story quickly,
I love it.
easy to understand. So just bring the solution to
Yeah.
us. But I think the relationship building is just most important. I've been incredibly fortunate to have built amazing relationship with my suppliers. And I can't be more thankful for, the suppliers I've worked with. They still reach out constantly to ask me questions and get advice on things. So, it just warms my heart that,
Yeah.
there's so many suppliers out there who try so hard.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, not all of them are as successful to build those relationships. And if things aren't as great, just please keep trying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when do you like to learn of a problem? The day it happens, or a month or
Yes.
two before?
The day it happens.
Yeah.
But if you know something, if you know you're going to be short, that's something that
Yeah.
I think is a temptation to a lot of, especially smaller or newer suppliers of, well, we think we're going to miss this deadline, but it's not for 6 more weeks, so we'll sit tight and kind of cross our fingers.
Yeah. And, that's also a conversation to have up front.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you want to know beforehand? Do you want to know the day of?
Right.
Would you like a weekly summary? Would you like a quick short email the day of? Just find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Work with the manager the way they want to be,
Yeah.
the way they're working.
Yeah. I used to repeat it, and it's probably pretty annoying but as a merchant. Like, I need a paramedic, not a coroner. Like, don't just tell me what died, how it died. Like, we got to keep this thing alive. What's the plan?
Yes.
Come with some kind of solution here.
Yeah.
And that analogy seemed to get through pretty quickly. It's like,
Yeah.
be a paramedic, guys. Let's come with something.
I mean, occasionally, if it's already dead, you need to learn from it.
Yeah.
But let's not jump to that.
Fair. Don't beat that dead horse. That's fair.
Let's not jump to anything else for suppliers from a replenishment or engaging with logistics or anything that has been a part of your background that if I could just communicate this to everybody and everybody heard it, they'd be better for it.
Well, the buyer replenishment relationship, because you've had a couple of really good partnerships.
Yes.
I think you invite that also because you're
Oh,
a
absolutely.
collaborative person.
Yes.
But like there are a lot of RMs out there who tend to just struggle
rogue?
on that side, right? That might go rogue. Or there's merchants out there who like try to ignore their merch ops partners when they really should be figuring out all the ways they can work together. So kind of advice on the merchant side as you think about like fostering really good partnerships with your merch ops teams.
I mean, neither one can be successful without the other.
Yeah.
I mean, I bluntly told my merchant all the time, like, if I don't press a button, it doesn't matter what you buy. It's not going to be on the shelf.
That's true. That is so true. That's great.
So good communication is
I mean,
key to everything.
I told him all the time, you need to humble yourself because, like, your decision is worthless if I don't stand beside you and make it happen.
That's awesome. I love that so much.
That's good leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean that's where we're at. Yeah. So anything else on your mind as you think about all from replenishment, transportation, emergency operations.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I pull it together. I'm like, okay, this journey of retail, nonlinear. Things tend to go wrong. We talked a little bit about strategy. There's some readiness things, and there's also just responsiveness. When it comes to when the actual situation happens, how do you respond well? So, advice you'd like to share to folks that are likely going to run into issues on both sides?
Gosh, I think if there's a problem, report it to the EOC. That's really what I'm struggling with the most right now.
Yeah.
Of actually finding out about issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who try to handle things on their own. And that could be, anyone, anywhere.
So true.
I've experienced it countless times, whether it's on the store side or the DC side, or whether it's a supplier or a merchant. They face a problem or face an issue and they try to fix it, and just ask for help, call somebody.
Reach out.
Even if it's not the right person, just talk it through with somebody. Maybe even just saying it out loud will spark some sort of thought.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
ask somebody, talk to your neighbor about it. I don't know. Just ask for help.
Yeah.
I think
I love that.
that's true
Good
for
advice.
anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Ready for the lightning round?
So the last segment's called the lightning round.
Okay.
And it starts with the zinger.
Lightning. Emergencies and lightning and all of this. Haven't we had
Yeah,
enough?
sorry. Hopefully it doesn't traumatize
And the
you.
trigger.
But greatest failure in retail.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but there's no such thing as failure.
All right, learning.
Learning.
Tell me about your biggest learning then. I like the
learning.
attitude. So we're looking for some of those. There's always a fun story of I I shipped 15 truckloads of dog food to El Paso. So
I think my biggest learning was around inventory. So when I first came to Walmart, and this was way back in 2011.
I think it might have been the same year I did that,
Yeah.
but yeah. That's awesome.
I was handed a laptop, and they told me what category I would replenish. And that was in the days of Inform and DD updates and all of that.
Yeah,
So
totally.
that's all I knew. They told me my category goal was, I think, 97.5, and it was hanging at around 96.
Ship it. All right.
That's what I did.
Great.
It's I got to get this up. So I ran DD updates for probably 3 weeks. That's all I did all day long. All my suppliers were happy.
Yeah.
They had POs coming through. They ramped up production. And I just kept doing DD updates all day long.
Until John
And-
Hatch called.
Well, it was my buyer. She was like, our inventory's out of control. She was like, what's going on?
Have you seen our in stock?
I know. I was
But
like,
in-stock's
this
higher."
is great.
You're welcome.
And she was like, what are you doing? I was like, getting our in-stock up. And she was like, this is our budget. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, no one mentioned the budget.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
We didn't
That's-
have a planner at that time.
Nice. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's
DD
amazing.
updates, man. I haven't done that
I had
in a long
zero
time.
idea. Nobody had, let me in on this.
Yeah.
I think it took years to. This was a small animal. I think the rate of sale was
Yes.
0.2.
Not high.
Nice. Sally? Who is that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned about inventory budgets.
That's
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a
that's good.
But it couldn't have been that bad because I was only in that role for about 10 months before they put me on dog food.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So you learn.
I think somebody decided this is too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She needs a bigger budget.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna need a bigger budget.
What was your key takeaway from 2023? It's a thing. If
That's a long time ago.
Last year, not
last
fiscal.
Year. Yeah.
Not fiscal 23. Just
Yeah, just last year.
the last year. Walmart's in fiscal 25. I guess.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
It's only 2024. I mean, it's just
Right.
the last year.
Goodness. Can I just do general learning?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Over the last year.
Ask for help.
Yeah.
If you're in a pickle, Ask for help.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll tell you, I know I mentioned this earlier, but we had this cooking event last week
Same.
in Rogers, and Doug came by and on Monday, and it wasn't so great because there were only 4 of us. There was myself and then 3 drivers, and we were a little underprepared because we thought we'd only do maybe 500 meals. It would be a small event.
Yeah, you did 20,000.
We did 20,000.
Yeah.
Planned for 500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Northwest Arkansas is a pretty affluent area. We didn't think the damage was that bad looking at Bentonville. And then Doug came, and we were all a little frazzled. He was like, how are you guys doing? What do you need? And I was like, we need better equipment. Like, we need more help. Like, our guys are struggling a little bit with the equipment we have. We can't wash our hands because we don't have a sink. And he was like, okay, we can get you a sink. We can get you better equipment. And he made some phone calls. The next day, Kieran and Cedric showed up.
Yeah.
And we had made some improvements. We looked a little bit better. We got some volunteers out. And they asked the same question, like, what do you need help with? And we thought it through a little bit better. And we're like, we need better branding. We need to be a little bit more proud of what we do here. We need some canopies for our volunteers to have some shade. It would be nice if we had some hats and some Walmart shirts and some other things.
Yeah.
We're out here doing a great things. We're feeding a lot of people. We should be proud to be out here. We need to represent Walmart. And within an hour or two, we had boxes of vests and shirts and the table covers. So I think my big takeaway is, even people like our executives, our leaders, they're here to help. They're here to support. Like, don't be afraid to ask for things.
Yeah.
They just need to know. They're here for us.
Yeah. If you don't ask for help.
Yeah.
And you don't get it.
Yeah. Don't stand there and struggle.
Yeah.
We had people standing over, propane burners, stirring mashed potatoes for hours and hours and hours. Doug walked up as one of the drivers and I were literally scooping mashed potatoes into a storm drain because we didn't have a sink or a hose or anything to wash a pot.
Yeah.
So that was a very humbling experience.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's
my.
going on?
Yeah.
Is this how we operate?
Making do.
Should we get you a food truck or some kind of professional equipment? Yes, please. That would be nice. And he was like, send me an email with what you want. So just, we have amazing leadership, and people will move mountains for you if you have a good reason and you do a good thing and you just ask for it.
Yeah.
Don't ask for stupid stuff, but,
Right.
Yeah.
if you do the right thing and
Yeah.
there's a good reason behind it.
And the right thing is take some perspective.
Yeah.
As a replenishment manager without knowledge of an inventory budget, all right, keep shipping.
Keep tripping.
That's the right thing. Once you get to transportation, you start to understand, like, the right thing includes understanding how many drivers there are
Yes.
and whether or not we have enough trucks to do this thing. And then in emergency operations, it's a different level of readiness for right thing. I think all of us have a different perspective of what right is. If we don't go alone, we work with others.
Yep.
Ask for help. I've underlined that one. Like, that's just
That stands out.
such a necessary thing on
Yes.
either side, supplier, merchant. When you're doing this
absolutely.
thing, you got to ask for help.
Don't struggle.
And then when you ask for it, if you've got good people, it's gonna work.
Yeah. And then last question is any books, media content, whatever. What are you consuming these days?
I'm reading Smart Brevity.
Smart Brevity.
Keep it short.
Keep it short.
I'd ask what it's about, but I feel like you just told me.
Self-explanatory.
You just told me.
Yeah, especially in emergency operations and
Not a lot of time to waste.
getting back with leadership and a lot of corporate communication.
Yeah.
Keep it short, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Take out some of the words that are just not necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation.
Awesome.
I really
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to get to know you and learn about what you do in the EOC.
Jen, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. As always, you can get all of our podcasts, video or audio, on our website at highimpactanalytics.com. Thank you.
Thank you.